I'm Rick Lewis with Phenom Hoop Report, and on today's Coaching Corner, I have Coach Donald Kirby, the new head coach at Rocky River High School. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Coach, you were born and raised in Martinsville, Virginia. You played for the legendary coach, Robert Hall. Talk about your experience in Martinsville and what it was like to play for him.
It was a very special time period. Growing up in Martinsville was a racing town. In high school sports, that was everybody's entertainment value. So you couldn't tell us anything different being in high school, that if you're an athlete, you were treated like a celebrity. You were a superstar. And everybody kind of stopped what they were doing. It was kind of like Friday Night Lights in every sporting event, whether it was basketball, football, baseball, the whole town would come out. So it was just a very exciting time playing for, Coach Hall. He was the kind of coach that kind of reminded me of my idol, Dean Smith, in the way he changed defenses a lot. He used a lot of motion offensive principles, and he really emphasized doing the little things. And we ended up going to state finals my freshman year, made it to the semifinals my junior year, and it was just a really great experience. I admired watching him being bigger than just basketball. He was a main staple in the community. He was the coach when they integrated the high schools, and so he always treated you like more than just an athlete. And he was kind of like another father figure to all of us that played for him. So it was really, really special playing for him. And then being a part of that time when there was always sellout crowds, and you didn't want to lose games because you'd run into people at the other high schools because it's a small town, whether you went to church or you were at restaurants. So it was just a real exciting time period in my life.
Talk about Donald Kirby, the player at Martinsville High School.
I believed in anything Coach Hall said, so he believed in the little things, and so I was a defensive dynamo. I was a pest defensively. I was one of the top rebounders in the program. I was the kid that would dive onto the floor for loose balls and dive in the stands trying to catch stuff. So I was like a workhorse, setting screens and just doing all the dirty work. I was probably a Dennis Rodman, Draymond Green type back then when I played.
So after you graduated from high school, you went to Johnson C. Smith in Charlotte, and you graduated in 1997. Talk about your time at Johnson C. Smith and, the experience you had there and how it impacted your life.
Well, Johnson C. Smith was a great experience for me. It was more like a family atmosphere on campus, and everybody kind of tried to groom you. I had the privilege of, getting a chance to be around the program, the basketball program there under Coach Joyner. I realized right away, early as a freshman, that 6'2" small forwards wasn't going to cut it in the college level when you got 6'7", 6'8" kids playing the three spot. So I decided to go ahead and start preparing for my next career. And Coach Joyner, he encouraged me to get involved at an early age. So I ended up working at a local elementary school for that Right Moves for Youth basketball program, and getting a taste of being involved in athletics and in coaching, so to speak. So it was just a great experience. Helped me kind of mature and really grow up as a person while I was at Johnson C. Smith.
Well, you started at the ground level. You started out coaching at elementary school.
Oh, yes. I got my feet wet early. Attention spans are a little bit, not as long as they are with older kids. And so I got my feet wet real, real early.
Well, let's talk about, your growth since you graduated from Johnson C. Smith and the path that you've taken to where you are today. When you graduated from Johnson C. Smith, you became an assistant coach at Butler High School for a few years. And early on, you were coaching both the boys and the girls as assistant coach. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was a very good experience for me. I was lucky that I wasn't married. I was just fresh right out of college, no kids, so I had nothing but time on my hands, and I was just so excited to get involved with coaching high school sports. That I did both. I had the privilege of doing both. It was a new school, new program. There's just it just opened up year one. When I got out of college in '97, and it was a unique experience working with the girls program. We were a school that was zoned for a lot of softball players. We had a lot of Butler girls softball was really, really good. They won like 3 or 4 state championships in that first 5-6 year window it was open. But girls really didn't play a lot of basketball. We only had a couple girls who were serious basketball players. So the experience with the girls program, we had to learn to teach things in a simple manner, fundamentals, and we had to try to give the girls goals, and I learned right away, there's a difference in motivation factor between girls and guys. So with the girls, we'd give them goals, we're going to try to get so many rebounds this game, produce this many turnovers this game, not turn the ball over this many times, and hoping that the focus on the little things would give us a chance at the end of a game to try to win. And those girls had different reasons because they weren't basketball players for playing games. They were more worried about their performance. So they could win a game, and if they didn't think they played well, it's like the end of the world. Where guys just want to win, and it's a competitive streak. So that was the big difference between the two. But town management was easy for me because I didn't have any other outside responsibilities to keep me from not being able to work on both programs.
Did you find that the girls were better listeners than the boys?
I did, because they were so very detail oriented, and guys, we got egos, so we think we've been playing in the park all our life. We think we know everything. So guys, were a little bit harder to get through in some situations than the girls.
Well, you spent your time directly out of college, and you was assistant coach at Butler, but in 2006, and you spent probably 5-6 years, you were named the head basketball coach at West Mecklenburg. What went through your mind when you were named the head coach?
I was excited. I knew it was a big challenge. Going there, they had suffered through some rough seasons prior to me getting there, and it was kind of a situation where, if you lose, okay, well, you're at West Meck. If you win, they think you're Dean Smith or something over there. So there wasn't as much pressure. So I thought it was a good situation to get my feet wet as a head coach. And so, I was excited, and it took a lot of work, to get the program to where we got it to when we were there. But it was a very unique time period in my life and in my experience. It helped kind of shape a lot of what I do today, going through that process.
Well, the expectations probably wasn't as high at West Meck because you sort of lived under the shadow of West Charlotte. West Charlotte has been the predominant team in the Charlotte area, and you were the close proximity between West Charlotte and West Meck. I'm sure that West Charlotte was getting most of the attention. So whatever you did at West Mecklenburg was just icing on the cake.
Exactly. And then you had Harding right down the street, who Walter Aikens, who was the coach at the time. They had built a very good program too. So it was, and we were sandwiched in between those two programs. And West Meck had a lot of other issues the students face that had nothing to do with X's and O's or their abilities on the court, that you had to kind of fight through to help the kids have, the opportunity to be able to be productive on the court and be successful on the court. And that's probably was the most exciting and rewarding, is helping kids break through the cycles that they were in to be able to get out there on the floor and do something that they love.
Well, in 2007, you led the team to the Queen City Conference, tournament championship, and was named Coach of the Year. Talk about how that success early on made you who you are today.
I think that was probably the biggest, accomplishment, I would say, while we were there. Well, that moment, I won't say the biggest accomplishment, but that moment where everything kind of came together. The first year I was there, we were 3-17 to start the year. We had about 5 freshmen we kept together on the JV team, and just trying to change the culture and put things in place. We had to get out and get teachers that tutored the kids in all the core subjects. Had an SAT prep person come on board, and we had to make sure some kids were fed and they ate, and just dealt with a lot of things just to get them to be on the court and to be productive. To follow that up in year 2 and go 19-10 and upset Harding in the conference tournament championship game. They had great players like Lakeem Jackson, who went to South Carolina.
I remember him.
That was the culmination of of really looking back. I never will forget that night, looking in the stands and seeing students who traveled all the way to Charlotte Catholic to be at that game, and them going crazy, and seeing the parents being all excited, and teachers going crazy, and the looks in those kids' eyes that, hey, we put in all this hard work, and it paid off for us. And the program just kind of rolled for the next 4 years after that. So, it was really, really special, not because I got a Coach of the Year or not because we won the championship, but to see the beginnings of people looking at West Meck not as, a sorry program or a sorry school or a place that has a lot of problems, and started having pride in what they were doing and being a part of something bigger than themselves, and actually start asking questions and looking for how I can do things to get out of the neighborhood, and be productive citizens. That was a special moment, special year for us that I think really helped springboard our other success going down the road.
That had to be pretty memorable, because here you are, a fairly new coach, and you come into a situation that hadn't had a lot of success on the basketball court. Not only did you change the culture, but you changed the perception completely of West Mecklenburg.
Yes, it was a lot of hard work, but it was so rewarding, and so much bigger than basketball, and it also kind of reinforced in my mind that you can use basketball to teach kids and give them the skills necessary to just be successful in life. And you can use the sport of basketball that, can kind of motivate them to excel in all facets of life, not just wins and losses on a basketball court. And that was rewarding to me, and that's something I'll always push, throughout my career, is, using the sport to help teach kids, how to be successful in life.
What do you think the biggest challenge you faced when you were at West Mecklenburg?
I think just the lifestyle. Kids can't really imagine things that they've never been exposed to. So if you don't have a lot of people in your family that's gone on to college, or people that's graduated from high school, having problems being laid off, just the socioeconomics, it kind of influences your thought pattern. A lot of the kids, for example, Shamel Akins, who was a star for us, and he went on to Lynn University and graduated at Lynn University right outside of Miami, Division II school. And he was the first person in his family to even go to college. I remember him as a freshman. His thing was, I'm going to be West Boulevard till I die. We stay on West Boulevard. We live on West Boulevard. We don't go anywhere. That was their motto. Nobody had ever really done anything, to get out. So getting kids exposed to things and see that, there is more to life than just where you are. You can be anything you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. So just fighting that social economic difference, with the kids and helping them overcome those obstacles to be able to give them a chance to be successful and to dream a little bit. That was, probably the biggest challenge, but also the most rewarding when you see kids rise up out of, their current situations to be whatever it is they dream to be.
I was going to say that would be the biggest challenge, but also the most rewarding thing that you were able to overcome and change while you were at West Mecklenburg. Now let's talk about the second step along as far as your journey. Your next step along the way was in 2011. You took the job over at Butler High School.
Oh yes, and that was such an honor. Go back to where you started. And not only where you started, but a program that you helped create. And that was 3 memorable years, in my career, following in behind Kurt Wessler, who I had a lot of respect for, and trying to continue, the legacy that he had continued from Mike Conley when it started. So it was a way of coming full circle, and I really enjoyed my time there and experiences that I had there.
Well, you spent 3 years at Butler, and then you decided to sort of take time away from the game of basketball. What factors went into that decision?
I took a year away from basketball. My kids, I felt like they needed me more than, basketball needed me at that particular time. My kids end up moving in with me full time, and from Union County to CMS and getting them acclimated. And, it was just important for me to be focused on being dad, all the time, every day with them. And so it was a good, break for a year. Kind of gave me a chance to recharge my batteries and, make sure my family was together and taken care of. So that's why I took that year off, in 2015.
I'm sure you learned a lot of patience along the way in that 1 year you were out, and you had a time to reflect. After that 1 year hiatus, you were able to get back into it. I think you came on board as an assistant coach at Northside Christian, and that was probably under Byron Dinkins and Joe Badgett.
Oh yes, 2 of the top guys in the field anywhere, not just because of what they can do on the court, but just who they are off the court and how they deal with young people. You couldn't ask for 2 better mentors, coming in, to that experience at Northside. And it gave me my first taste of what life is like working in a private school setting, because my experiences had always been public school up until that point.
I'm sure when you were at Northside Christian, you learned how to do that full court, no dribble rule.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We played a lot of no dribble.
Hey, if anyone hasn't been to a Byron Dinkins or Joe Badgett practice, there's one thing they always do in the preseason is you play full court, no dribble.
And it is a masterful idea, concept that I've stolen and will use in my career forever. Does a good job of teaching kids how to move without the basketball and to do other things in the game to be successful than just dribble. So I thought that was genius, ideas that Coach Dinkins and Coach Badgett implemented in the preseason using no dribble.
Well, after your time at Northside Christian, Coach Badgett got the job at Carmel Christian, and you followed him as well over to Carmel and was the assistant coach. And during your time at Carmel Christian, you guys were back-to-back state champions, and you were under the tutelage and leadership of Joe Badgett. What lessons did you learn from Coach Badgett?
Learned a lot from Coach Badgett. Watching him handle things and plan things out going into a season, was masterful. and why he does certain things, why he schedules certain events. And so I learned a lot about, why you participate in certain things, how to deal with parents, and he's just a very business like person when it comes to handling issues off the court. How you're dealing with parents, administration. He was just a great example of kind of how to handle those things. And on the court, he's the shot doctor. I haven't seen too many people that can outshoot him. I mean, he still plays in adult leagues to this day. And if he's got an open shot, he's going to take it. And so learning a lot of things about just the art of shooting that other people, you get all kind of things in clinics and stuff, but just his knack of ankles and footwork, was just masterful. So I learned a lot from him, in that aspect too.
Well, I've always said, Coach Badgett is like Mr. GQ on the sideline. I'm sure you had to dig in your pockets a little bit to keep up with him as far as dress and style.
Yes, I did. And, I finally realized you can't keep up with Coach Badgett. He is GQ smooth for sure.
Well, the one thing about Coach Badgett is I've always said he's cool, calm, and collective. And, in the 20 years that he has been coaching, he's only received one technical foul in 20 years of coaching. Do you remember a moment where he had he blew it gasket where he just lost it?
It's so funny that that you asked that, but to be honest, he's never just blown it, just lost it. He does a good job of keeping things under control, and amazingly, I've seen him kind of diffuse some situations that could have been with other people, whether it was players, that he just has a knack for diffusing things. He's kind of like that father that you have that, when he means business, how your dad can give you that look when you're out of line. He
has that stare down look.
Yes, he does. And so he never really has to explode because of his presence. And it's a unique thing to watch, he in situations where other people would just lose it. He's just calm and collected. And he kind of puts it on you, back on the kids that, you say you want this and that, well, then you can't do what you're doing, and so it's on you. You the one said you want to accomplish these goals, and it kind of rings people back in. So I've never really seen him ever just blow a gasket. So what people see on the sidelines, he's able to do that, whether it's practices, whether it's meetings, in everyday life, he's been able to kind of keep himself calm, cool, and collected for sure.
Well, I've seen them many times in open gym. I've covered them many times in events. They're always in a lot of our showcase events. I have never seen him lose his cool. As Stuart Scott would say, he's cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Yes, he is.
Well, Coach, you had a great stint at Carmel Christian, and just recently the Rocky River job came open. What went through your mind when they said Donald Kirby is the new head coach at Rocky River?
Well, I was excited about the opportunity, but also it was bittersweet because I really loved what we were doing at Carmel. I love working with Coach Badgett. I love those kids over there to death. And so it was kind of a tug, as happy as I was also as sad, to leave, close that chapter of my life. But I was very, very excited about the opportunity going over to Rocky River.
Well, Rocky River finished 11-13 last year, Coach, but they have a great nucleus coming back. They have junior Khalid Thomas, who almost averaged a double-double. He averaged 18 points a game, 8 rebounds. You also have Stefan Richard, who averaged 11 points, 7 rebounds. And you also have Christian Rudisell, who averaged almost 10 points a game. So you have a trio of underclassmen that will return. What's your goals and expectations for the upcoming season?
Well, my goals for the upcoming season are simply to get better every day. We want to lay the foundation to be one of the best public school programs in the country. I know that sounds kind of crazy, or why would somebody have such high expectations? But I've always been the kind of person that believes you got to set your expectations high, and then you got to break things down in goals to try to work toward them. You're never going to be as good as you can be if you set your sights on smaller, goals or destinations to try to reach. So that's the first, is just laying down that foundation to be the best, public school program in the country. And then I want to create a family atmosphere that lasts throughout life. That's everywhere I've ever been, whether it was Butler, whether it was West Meck, Northside, Carmel Christian. It's always been a family atmosphere. The players come back. It was kind of always funny. The Butler kids would come over to West Meck. West Meck and Butler kids would come over to Northside and Carmel. Once they graduated. Northside kids are back at Carmel. We're just all one big family. Pushing for each other, and that's what I want to create at Rocky River. And then to simply just get better, every day. So kids will have the opportunity to play in front of people and to have an opportunity to play on the next level if they so choose, but also have a support system for those kids who have other goals and ambitions in life to be able to successfully make that transition to whatever they want to do. So those are my goals coming in. But my expectations are the same as they would be every year and everywhere I've ever been, and that's to compete for a conference championship and to make the playoffs and to make that playoff run. And that will be no different in year one, at Rocky River. I feel like, it's why not us, and if we put the work in with the experience that we've got coming back, we should have that chance to compete, and have our chance. And our view is going to be just to be better than we are in February than we were in November. And I think we can do that. I'm excited about the kids that we got coming back. I think Duke has a chance to be, have a really big breakout year this year. I think he's been one of the most underrated kids in the Charlotte area and in the state. Stephen Richards, who plays for Ron Howard Select in the summer. I think he's a very versatile kid that'll come into his own. Christian Rudisell and Tyrone McNair return. They're two-sport athletes that'll give us a lot of experience. And Tobias Forte is a kid that I think is going to surprise a lot of people. His role will expand this upcoming year. So I'm really excited about, working with those guys and getting in and trying to compete for a championship.
Who do you think the top teams are going to be in the conference this coming year?
I think Hickory Ridge is going to be clearly the favorite in the conference. I mean, they were unbelievable. Last year, I think they were like 12-2 in the conference. And they won like 21 games a year ago. And they
return everybody.
They returned everybody. And that Caleb Foster kid that had a point guard is really, really good. And so they're definitely going to be the hands-on favorite. And then Independence is always going to be in the wings.
You can never count out Preston Davis.
No, you cannot. He's one of the most hardworking guys I know. And, they're always going to have something to say about who's going to win that conference. So he's Mr. Southwestern 4A right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Now, with the COVID situation, you haven't had a chance and opportunity to meet the players in person. What's been their reception to you, and I guess through Zoom? And
it's been very, very positive. They're excited. They're chomping at a bit to get into the gym and start working. We've had some Zoom meetings. I've personally called each and every one of them. I've talked to them one-on-one in situations. We text each other. We communicate through Twitter and Instagram a lot. We just started this past week doing team challenges where, most of them are working out on their own anyway, but I just give them a few things that they can do, to try to get better. And then we'll compare, what they're doing compared to other teammates. Like this week is a big free throw shooting emphasis, and so they'll get bragging rights of who supposedly shot better than their teammates. So we're doing a lot of things just to try to keep that camaraderie and and keep them working and in shape while we're away from each other during this COVID crisis.
Now, Coach, you've been successful as both an assistant coach and a head coach. Who's been the biggest influence on you as a high school coach?
The biggest influence, that's tough because I've had so many people that I've been around that has helped me. And I'm like a thief in the night. I steal a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person, and
you're like a sponge.
So I'm like a sponge, and to work with some of the people I've worked with, and Mike Conley and Becky McDonald and Kurt Wessler, Gosnell White, at West Charlotte, Byron Dinkins, Joe Badgett, like they've all had big influence on me. And even being around Tommy Knox when I did my student teaching at West Charlotte, who was the football coach, legendary football coach, and Eric Streeter, the track coach, who won several state championships in track. Just watching coaches and how they do things have really kind of made me who I am. But I would probably say right now the biggest influence is probably Byron Dinkins and Joe Badgett. Just their way of dealing with kids, and getting kids from one level to the next level, and pushing kids to be better than what they are. They really helped me a lot with, how do you use your faith in a school setting, and let God kind of allow you to guide you and push you through, and they've been a real big influence on me, just personally on and off the court. So I'd have to give props to probably those two as the biggest influence in my coaching career right now.
I've never seen two people like Byron Dinkins and Joe Badgett that can make a point so clear without raising their voice.
Exactly. I mean, they do a phenomenal job, and they keep everything so simple and specific that anybody can pick up on it. And it's always like a challenge to you to kind of make yourself get better. And the amount of time that they put in, outside of practice, just helping kids get better. It's really inspiring, and it's no reason why, it's no secret to why they're so successful. People may try to say different things about them or why they win so much, but the secret sauce is the work ethic, and the work that they put in, and a lot of kids end up having big names that played for them, but if you saw them before they got their hands on them, they developed into what they became, and their work ethic is just phenomenal.
Well, Coach, they always say first impressions are the greatest. Now, when you're able to meet your team for the very first time, what's your selling point to the team?
Well, the first time that we meet face to face, there isn't going to be any selling point because we've been doing that now. One of the big things we've all been talking about is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be worth it? Absolutely. We've talked about how hard it's going to be, what the expectations are, the philosophies. I've talked to them individually and together as a group about things that they want to see, their own personal goals. So it's really not going to be anything to sell. When we first get to see each other face to face, we're going right to work. It's time to go right to work. And, that's where we are right now. The selling phase is done. It's time to go to work now.
What can fans at Rocky River, what can fans expect from a Donald Kirby team?
Well, they can expect to see a team that works hard, that gets after it, defensively, that shares the ball, moves the ball, pushes the tempo. So if they're expecting to come see a team that's going to walk it up the floor and and go four corners and stall, that they're going to be sadly mistaken, because this is going to be a group that's going to compete. They're going to get after it defensively. We're going to hang our hats on the defensive end, and we're going to push the tempo, and we're going to play that motion offense, and we're going to attack. We're going to be in attack mode from beginning to end. So they can expect to see a team that's going to be fun to watch, and they're going to be full of energy.
Well, good stuff, Coach. We want to say congratulations on you being the new coach at Rocky River. We hope to see your team in some of our events this season, and it's going to be fun watching your team play. And we're going to come by and watch you in open gym and come by and cover your team during the course of the season. I'm anxious to see you go up against Hickory Ridge, who I think your two teams will be the ones fighting for the conference championship. But I know Preston Davis is sitting there saying, go ahead and put those two in there, but Independence is going to have something to do with it as well.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. I appreciate that, Rick, and we look forward to participating in some of the Phenom events, and having you guys come through and watch us work out some this year. Appreciate everything.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck to you.
Thanks a lot.
Uh-huh.